of CS, you'd have to ask a scientist, and whether it's a nerve agent per se. I know it's some nasty stuff. I've been exposed to it while out with Marines. It's very incapacitating. It's extremely dangerous to children, and Janet Reno knew that those children in there did not have any kind of protective mask, and it's potentially lethal. I mean, the Justice Department claims that this gas was not very dangerous or ludicrous. They're contradicted by all the scientific literature you can find.
Yeah.
Now, whether that qualifies as a nerve gas, I can't speak to that.
Okay.
I appreciate your time, gentlemen.
Thank you very, very much. We've got really just one more minute, and I'd like to see if we can get to Jeff from Dallas, Texas. Jeff, you're on Radio Free DC.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
I had a question for Mr. Pate. Are you aware that the ATF has just purchased several Warthog attack aircraft from the Marines? And what do they intend on doing with these aircraft?
When you're talking about the Warthog, I have heard that the ATF are in the process of acquiring the OV-10 Bronco.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's a propeller-driven.
Okay. Unfortunately, folks, we've run out of time. Jim Pate, thank you so much, sir.
Hey, thank you.
We appreciate that. We'll have you back next week because we're gonna meet this obligation to keep calling us to the attention of the public. Tomorrow, Listener Appreciation Day.
This is the Eurostar Radio Network.
And from Buffalo, New York, it's Bill. Bill, you're on Radio Free DC, sir.
How you doing, Mr. Liddy?
Oh, so far so good, Bill.
Okay, I have a question for you here. Do you feel that based on the fact that you have always and continually identified with and espoused the fine merits of morality in our society, and also based on the fact that you have served in our criminal justice system and government in highly honorable and respected positions, that there is an internal conflict within yourself because of your criminal record?
No, I have a criminal record because I deserve to have a criminal record, because a mission that I undertook, which was illegal, which I knew was illegal at the time, failed. And actions have consequences. And that was the price of failure. And I don't cry about it. I understood at the time what the risks were. I was a big boy. I was a mature adult male. I understood what I was doing. And so in a situation where I would have been perfectly willing to accept the rewards of success, I cannot be heard to complain about having to accept the results of failure. I mean, that's just the way life works. And when you understand that, you don't walk around with a bunch of internal conflicts. But I know how the thing works.
Did it not conflict with what you stood for, though, sir?
No, because although it was illegal, I did not consider it to be immoral. And that's, the saving grace there. Cicero, I think it was, said that the good of the people is the chief law. And I took that attitude toward what I was doing. We had at the time a civil war going on, not just a war in Vietnam, but a civil war here in this country. People like Clinton, etc. We had organized bands coming down to Washington, D.C., complete with sophisticated equipment and previously distributed plans to, quote, shut down the government of the United States and what have you. I didn't have any problem in doing whatever was necessary, I thought, to defeat them. Now, I will admit now, because I know now something I didn't know then. I had been misled by John Dean into believing that what I was doing was to advance, the election prospects, if you will, through political intelligence of Richard Nixon, so that we would defeat his opponents and this and that this had the sanction and approval of Messrs. Mitchell and Ehrlichman. I know now that that isn't true. I was deceived by John Dean. John Dean was in business for himself, and this was his own operation. But so I would, and if I'd have known that then, I wouldn't have done it, because I would do something for President Nixon. I certainly wouldn't do it for John Dean. But my perception then was what I was operating on, and I don't have any problem with that. And I don't walk around with as you put it, internal conflicts.
But if you did feel it was immoral and did do it, how would you feel?
I would feel guilty. You know, if I do something that I consider to be immoral, I feel guilt. You know, there's nothing wrong with the way my body and mind operates. It's the same as everybody else's. Person who does something that he is convinced is wrong, and wrong does not have to do with legality, it has to do with morality, feels guilt. Unless that person is a sociopath, then they don't feel any guilt.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right. Now.
But the question I have for you is, I have a 3-year-old son who I'm raising by myself.
Mm-hmm.
We live alone, and I've thought time and time again about getting a gun.
Yes.
But I don't know how to teach children about gun safety so I can get a gun in the house.
Okay, and it's particularly important because, you know, all houses have dangerous things under the sink. For example, you might have oven cleaner and things that you certainly don't want your son to touch, and I'm assuming that you have ways to teach him to stay away from things like that, do you not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you do not have the problem with oven cleaner of television shows constantly showing him people using oven cleaner in glamorous ways. But you do have a lot of shows that show people with firearms and everything. And they do not get the right message from that because they think, that these firearms really, don't do harm. The people get back up again. It's all for play. What you need to do after you get the firearm, and I would suggest for you a revolver, by the way, not a semi-automatic pistol, is go to a place where it is safe, where there is a berm or something of that sort, and get something, buy a second-hand toy, something he'll recognize, and blow it apart with that gun to demonstrate with the tremendous noise, boom, bang, and the power that thing has, how dangerous it is. This is very, very dangerous. This is mommy's, and this is not a toy. And don't you even think of looking at it. What you do is you establish the fact that in your home it is forbidden for him to even look at it. If it's lying there on a table, turn your head away. That's the way we did it in our household. You turn your head away. You do not even look at it. Then when you think they're old enough, you let him look at it. He knows how powerful it is, how dangerous it is, how this is an adult thing, and so forth. And then when he gets to be a young teenager, you can then teach them through dry firing techniques and handling, at an NRA-approved course, how to handle it safely and to shoot it himself. And then he'll have the requisite respect for it, and maybe someday, when he's older, he will defend you with it. That's the way to go about it.
All right.
All right, going now to the telephones. And first up from Mobile, Alabama, is Ray. Ray, you're on Radio Free DC.
Hello, G-Man.
Hi, Ray.
How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, sir.
I love your show. I'm an avid listener.
Thank you.
I'm originally from the New York City area, as you probably can tell. And
you sure don't sound like you're from Mobile, Alabama.
But I had an opportunity to make a career move about 13 years ago. And some of the contrasts between the two areas that were the most profound, one of them was the attitude towards gun control.
Mm-hmm. And
as you know, probably that area, New Jersey, New York, has some of the toughest gun control laws in the country.
Well, New York has the enormously strict Sullivan Law, which came into being in 1911. And I remember when I was a Treasury official in 1969, I checked with the New York City authorities and asked them how many criminal cases they'd solved through the Sullivan Law, and the answer was 0. That did not stop New Jersey from imposing draconian gun control laws.
Well, I've been in Mobile now about 13 years, and I'm a gun owner, and I have a license to carry a weapon concealed both on my person and the vehicle.
Good.
And
everybody should.
But I plan a trip back to New York to visit. I have 4 small children, 8 and under.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to naturally carry my weapon. We're going to be driving a long distance.
Yeah.
What is your feeling in that regard?
Well, first of all, you are permitted to transport, no matter what the gun control laws may be in a particular state. If you are driving through it en route from destination A to destination B, and you have a firearm, so long as it is unloaded and the ammunition is kept, away from the firearm, you may lawfully do that in interstate.
How about traveling in New York City? I want to take my children to see some of the sights.
Yeah.
I was packing my Colt 380, for example, loaded with 7-shot.
Yeah, you would be in direct violation of the law, if you were detected, say in other words, if a police officer, and they've got undercover guys there, if he saw the outline of the pistol, and certainly in warm weather like that, he might you're not going to have a heavy overcoat on where he can't tell that it's there. He might and you could be stopped, and you could get into severe difficulty in New York City for carrying it. On the other hand, if you've got a small enough piece and a good concealed rig, so that it won't be detected, it could well save you and your children's lives. But what I would suggest is that you get a cold piece, so that you can, if you're attacked and you stop somebody with it, make sure he's dead so he can't identify you, and just drop it, get rid of it.
Now, that's what I like about the Colt 380. Any of your listeners who may be looking for a weapon to carry on them, the Pocket Light Federal Series is a very small but accurate weapon.
Now, are you speaking of the one that we call the hammerless? It has a hammer, but
it has a hammer. It's a single action, though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you can carry that cocked and locked.
Right, exactly.
I'm familiar with that piece. They made it also in 32 auto. It's a very good. Matter of fact, I think they used to call it the pocket pistol. But again, you want to be sure that it can't be seen, because if it's seen by a law enforcement officer, they will do more than take it away from you. They will prosecute you in New York.
Even if it's unloaded? What if it's unloaded?
No. Even if it's unloaded, you can't do that.
Only the criminals can have weapons up there.
Oh, yeah, that's perfectly all right. Perfectly all right. It's not the way it is down south, the attitude. Down south, you drop a guy who's trying to mug you or something like that, the most you're going to get is a ticket for littering.
Well, it's amazing, the attitudes. I've been down here quite a while now, and I have to admit that I think the average criminal down in this part of the country realizes that if he breaks into your home to do you or your family harm, chances are very good he's going to come out in a body bag.
Absolutely. They'll waste him.
And I think if we took this attitude nationwide,
no question about it,
the Apple area,
yeah.
I think we could reduce some of this crime.
Sure. New York is there's two kinds of people. There's the predators and the preyed upon, and the preyed upon have been disarmed by the government, and so you're helpless unless you just say, I would rather be a live person facing a conviction for the use of a firearm than a dead man, who went to his grave without a record. But again, there's ways of being prudent about it. You get a cold piece purchased from somebody else so that it doesn't go through any kind of registration or anything of that sort, and it cannot be traced to you. And then just use that.
If the weapon is in the vehicle in New York City, is that also a crime?
Yes, unless, as I say, you're traveling through. You're on your way to someplace else. You can drive through New York, but make sure it's unlocked and unloaded, and the ammunition and the piece are not adjacent to each other.
I'd much rather take my Ruger 9mm or one of my 357s. But I thought it'd be.
But see, now the way the New Yorkers do it is, they'll have a cold piece which they can drop, and they also have an old, inexpensive thing that is loaded that they call a tro gun. And this is, let's say the guy comes at you with a meat cleaver or something, and you want to make damn sure that they understand this guy was trying to kill you.
Sure.
You whack him, and then you throw your tro gun down, and that's the one that he was carrying. I mean, we're talking. I'm giving you the straight scoop on how it goes in the cities.
Well, that's an idea for sure. Also, this new crime bill they're talking about now. I thought it was a 10-shot clip. Now they're talking about 5-shot clips as the limit.
Well, yeah, they're they're getting more and more ridiculous. And the whole point is that pretty soon, if it'll fire a single round, they would like to make it illegal. And in the first place, they're not talking about clips. They're talking about magazines, spring-loaded magazines. There is such a thing as a clip. The M1 Garand 30-06 rifle uses an 8-shot clip. It literally clips the rounds together. But what you're talking about in a semi-automatic pistol is a magazine. These people don't even know the difference between a magazine and a clip it's when they try to write these laws. And the reason that they want to have it down to 5 is that your typical revolver, first of all, holds 6. So there go all the revolvers, right? It's illegal. And I have yet to find a semi-automatic pistol that didn't hold more than 5, and so there goes all the semi-automatic pistols. It's just another way of just saying that all handguns are illegal.
Do you know if they were talking about a grandfather clause where everyone who has one will not have to turn them in, or because I have several 18-shot magazines?
Well, look, what do you care whether they have those clauses or not? What do you care whether they say you must register your weapons? If you've got any sense at all, you're not going to register anything. When they come around and say, listen, a year and a half ago, it says here, you purchased a such and such. Yeah, I sold that to that guy out in Duluth. What guy out in Duluth? Well, I don't remember his name now. He gave me a hell of a price for it. It's gone. Or that was the one that dropped off into Loon Lake up in New York. It's probably down the bottom of there somewhere. But you still got it. You've got it hidden well. You are not going to register it. You are going to keep your guns. You can't tell me that the American people are so foolish as that they will, A, register their weapons, and then, B, surrender them. That's ridiculous.
Well, I think they'd have a real hard time in this part of the country getting anybody to turn in their weapons.
Yeah, well, anywhere. I mean, the American people have a long and honorable history of violating unjust laws. I mean, look at the whole business of sitting on the back of the bus and things like that down in the South. Finally, the people just said, this is an unjust law, I'm not going to obey it. And it is an unjust law to in any way inhibit your way to keep and bear arms, because the Constitution of the United States in the Second Amendment did not grant that right. It merely acknowledged that as a free human being, you had inherently the right to keep and bear arms before the Constitution, and the Constitution, it said, will not infringe upon that right. So you've had that all along anyway. So to hell with these people. To hell with Sarah Beatty. Let her go shove that wheelchair around. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll go down a flight of stairs or something. And the woman will lose her meal ticket. That's what this thing is all about.
Mr. Liddy.
Coming up from Arlington, Virginia, it's Stephanie. Stephanie, you are on Radio Free DC.
Gordon?
Yes, Stephanie.
How are you?
Oh, I am virile, vigorous, and potent, Stephanie. I mean, I am no different this hour than I was in the last.
Good. I just wanted to call you because I'm one of your younger listeners, and I had tuned in yesterday.
All of my listeners are young and beautiful.
Oh, and I heard an article that you had read about a suicide that it was Kurt Cobain.
Yes.
Yes. And also, I think it was about Michael Fay. And I wanted to kind of talk to you about those two things. And
it was about other people, too.
Yeah, and I was really disappointed in your reaction to...
All right, you tell me what part of my reaction disappointed you.
Okay, well, first of all, about the suicide, you were saying that this person shouldn't be viewed as a victim and that...
That's correct. Now,
right.
and nor McVeigh as some sort of a victim. The point of this article, the thrust of this article, just so everybody else knows what we're talking about, Stephanie, was that people who are criminals, who abuse drugs, etc., are responsible for their own actions and should not be made out to be victims who are not in control of their own actions and be given a whole lot of sympathy and cult status and the rest of it.
Okay, that I understand, but I think I did read an article on him, and it said that he had suffered from a lifetime of depression, and I think that if you understand And the reason for a lot of drug addiction and drug abuse is to get away from pain.
Well, no, wait a minute.
I think,
Wait, Stephanie. You're quite correct that clinical depression
right,
is painful.
right,
Clinical depression is also solvable by taking the correct drug to restore the chemical imbalance in the brain.
But the thing is, too, is that it also includes a lot of emotional problems that aren't necessarily corrected by the medication. I mean, it also, and you were saying something, that I felt that you kind of ridiculed, maybe it was President Clinton, you said it was speaking to some children at school, and it sounded like you kind of ridiculed the fact that he was talking to them about self-esteem and things like
Yes,
that. And that's the key. I mean, that's the key.
What's the key?
The key is self-esteem. It's when people have emotional, a lot of people that have emotional problems and depression grew up in abusive families. I mean, grew up in dysfunctional families. And the key is your self-esteem that was destroyed by other people. And so you have to kind of, if you don't know someone's situation and the things that they've been through, you can't really not call them a victim.
Yeah, wait a minute. First of all, victimhood can never be forced upon anyone. You have to buy into it. You have to accept it. You have to agree to be a victim. I've been through a few things myself in life, Stephanie. I have never viewed myself as a victim.
But what if you grow up in an abusive family or dysfunctional family? You have no choice. And you
do have a choice. You can reject victim status. You can, instead of running around feeling sorry for yourself, you can recognize that there's been lots and lots and lots of other people who have had similar bad childhoods and what have you, who have overcome it and have gone on to great things.
And I understand.
And
that
the whole thing. And Stephanie, this business of self-esteem. Self-esteem is something that must be earned.
Right.
It cannot be handed to you the way they are trying to do through outcome-based education. If, for example, you are flunking your studies, you have no business having high self-esteem. You ought to have low self-esteem, and the pain of that ought to drive you to study in order to improve your grades, and then you will be entitled to self-esteem.
I do understand that, but what I'm saying is, for some people, myself included, it's a long road to gain that.
Yes, it is a long road, and if you're on it and fighting for it, then you're struggling for it, you're to be commended.
Right.
But you don't go around saying that a 18-year-old adult male who goes on a 10-day spree of spray painting other people's Mercedes-Benzes and defacing other things and stealing property ought not to be punished, and it should be viewed as a victim.
Right.
Nor a drugged-out rock and roller, as talented as he may well be, who instead of going along with whatever help was prescribed for him and taking his medicine, refuses to take it, takes other drugs instead, and then blows his brains out.
Okay. Now, on the subject of Michael Fay, let me just say this. I don't promote vandalism or anything like that. I do agree there should be a punishment. But on that, how can I, myself, support a punishment where this boy gets the flesh torn off of his body? How can I support that?
Well, it depends on what he has done. And if you go to it, if you look, you may view that is an excessive punishment.
Yes.
All right. And in our society, it probably would be viewed as excessive.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what the other side of the coin is. Right here in Prince George's County, Maryland, there was a repair guy, a guy who repairs appliances, earning his honest living, going from place to place, fixing your washing machine or whatever it needs it. And he had his pickup truck and he had his tools. Now, he happened to be behind a school bus with a bunch of teenagers on there, right? They threw cans out the school bus window and broke his windshield. Now, this guy, it costs you to replace your windshield. So he went to the bus driver to protest what was going on in the bus, whereupon 3 of these young teenage thugs came out of the bus, proceeded to beat him up, chase him back to his truck, beat him up some more, and then steal his tools.
Right.
Now, guess what the state of Maryland decided to do?